You people always find ways to sneak in. Jessica Martinez slammed her palm on the marble counter. Maya Williams's platinum keycard bounced, then her ID card followed, both swept deliberately onto the lobby floor. Pick them up yourself. This isn't Section 8 housing. Maya Williams, 34, stood frozen in her simple jeans and cashmere sweater. Jessica's blonde hair caught the crystal chandelier light as she stepped back, arms crossed, lips curled in disgust. The front desk manager looked Maya up and down like she was examining garbage. Security will escort you out in exactly 60 seconds. A teenage guest raised her phone. The camera captured everything. Other guests stopped mid-conversation. The marble lobby amplified every word, every sharp breath, every uncomfortable shuffle of designer shoes. Maya's calm voice cut through the tension. I'd like to speak with your manager, please. I am the manager. Jessica's laugh echoed off the walls. And I'm telling you to leave. The lobby clock showed 2:47 p.m. Maya had 13 minutes. Have you ever been so completely dismissed that someone treated your very presence as a crime? The TikTok notification chimed softly. At Black Excellence_Ray, 52,000 followers had just gone live. Y'all, I'm witnessing some straight-up racism at the Meridian Hotel right now, Ray whispered into her phone. The viewer count climbed rapidly. 127, 340, 891, 1,200. Jessica Martinez strutted around the polished marble counter, her designer heels clicking with deliberate authority. She positioned herself between Maya and the elevator bank, blocking any escape route like a predator cornering wounded prey. Let me guess your employer sent you to fetch something from a guest room? Jessica's air quotes dripped with venomous sarcasm. Or maybe you're here to clean toilets and got confused about which floor the service elevator is on. Did some white lady give you that card to hold while she parked her car? Maya Williams remained perfectly still, her posture radiating quiet dignity despite the public assault. I have a confirmed reservation for the penthouse suite. The penthouse? Jessica's shriek reverberated through the 5-story marble lobby, her voice climbing several octaves. Honey, that's $3,000 per night. Show me a Black American Express card, 3 forms of government-issued identification, 2 bank statements, and a credit report. Or I'm calling the police to have you arrested for trespassing right now. The massive digital clock above the concierge desk displayed 2:52 p.m. in glowing red numbers. 8 precious minutes remaining until Maya's board meeting that would determine the future of the entire hotel chain. Ray's TikTok comments exploded across the screen. Call the manager now. This is absolutely disgusting. Someone record this racist garbage. Black women can't even breathe in peace. I'm sharing this everywhere. Jessica read Maya's composed silence as admission of guilt, as confirmation of every stereotype she harbored. She stepped aggressively closer, invading personal space with predatory confidence, her breath hot against Maya's face. I've been working in luxury hospitality for 15 years, Jessica announced loudly enough for every guest in the lobby to hear clearly. I have developed a very sophisticated eye for spotting exactly what you people are attempting when you show up in establishments like this one. What people, specifically? Maya's voice remained perfectly level, each word measured and controlled, betraying absolutely nothing of the storm building inside. Don't you dare play innocent with me, sweetheart. Jessica's perfectly manicured finger jabbed the air just inches from Maya's nose, her wedding ring catching the crystal chandelier light. Professional scammers, credit card thieves, people who forge hotel reservations and steal from decent, law-abiding establishments that serve respectable clientele. The opulent lobby atmosphere shifted dramatically as more guests became aware of the escalating confrontation. Expensive phones emerged from designer purses and suit jacket pockets. The marble palace transformed into a modern digital coliseum where public humiliation became viral entertainment for thousands of strangers. A well-dressed elderly white couple positioned near the champagne and caviar bar whispered loudly enough for everyone within 20 feet to hear clearly, "She should just leave quietly before this gets worse." This whole situation is becoming terribly embarrassing for absolutely everyone involved. A woman in an expensive fur coat and pearl necklace shook her head with obvious disapproval. Young people today have absolutely no respect for proper establishments or appropriate social boundaries. Jessica fed hungrily off the ambient support from other guests, her confidence growing exponentially. Her voice became increasingly theatrical, more performative. "Ma'am, I honestly don't know what kind of neighborhoods you're accustomed to frequenting, but this is a genuinely respectable business establishment. We exclusively serve a very particular caliber of distinguished clientele." Maya's iPhone buzzed insistently in her jacket pocket, high-priority notifications from corporate executives, board members, legal teams, and financial advisors, all waiting anxiously for her arrival at the emergency meeting. Critical messages she couldn't check without appearing unprofessional or defensive in front of the hostile crowd. Her understated designer handbag, a $4,000 handcrafted Bottega Veneta that Jessica couldn't recognize despite her supposed 15 years of luxury hospitality experience, sat completely untouched on the pristine marble counter. The sophisticated elegance meant absolutely nothing to someone who automatically judged human worth by skin color rather than any actual indicators of success or status. "You know what genuinely bothers me most about this entire situation?" Jessica continued her increasingly dramatic performance, now clearly addressing the growing crowd of fascinated spectators as much as Maya herself. "People exactly like you think you can just casually walk into any establishment and immediately demand premium service. But genuine respect must be earned through proper behavior, not simply expected or given freely." Ray's explosive TikTok livestream hit 3,400 viewers and climbed rapidly. Comments flooded the screen faster than human eyes could possibly read. "Someone call corporate immediately. This racist hotel is about to get completely canceled. Why is literally nobody helping this woman? I'm never staying here again." The first-class boarding pass, tucked discreetly in Maya's bag, displayed its origin clearly to anyone bothering to look closely. Private aviation terminal, gate A1, departing from exclusive Teterboro Airport. But Jessica saw only what her deep-rooted prejudice permitted, a black woman who obviously didn't belong in her pristine white space. "I'm going to ask you one absolutely final time," Jessica announced with theatrical flourish, her voice echoing across the entire marble lobby. "Leave this establishment voluntarily with whatever small shred of dignity you might have remaining, or hotel security will personally escort you out, in handcuffs like the criminal you obviously are." She brandished her phone with dramatic flair. "I keep the police department on speed dial specifically for situations exactly like this one." 2:54 p.m. 6 critical minutes until everything would change forever. Security radio static crackled across the opulent marble lobby. Two uniformed guards emerged from behind the towering pillars. Marcus Thompson, a distinguished black man in his 40s with intelligent, experienced eyes, and Trevor Walsh, younger, white, already aggressively reaching for the handcuffs clipped to his tactical belt. "What's the specific situation here?" Marcus asked carefully, his trained gaze methodically taking in the entire scene. Expensive phones recording from multiple angles, well-dressed guests clustered in obvious judgment, and Maya Williams standing completely alone in the hostile center of it all. Trevor stepped forward with immediate aggression, his hand resting threateningly on his radio. "Ma'am, you need to vacate these premises immediately. No questions, no discussion, no delays." "Hold on just 1 minute," Marcus whispered urgently, recognizing something profound in Maya's composed, dignified demeanor that his inexperienced partner missed entirely. "Let's just take a moment to hear everyone out first before we escalate this situation." Jessica Martinez performed her calculated victimhood with Academy Award-worthy precision. Officers, this woman has been systematically harassing our professional staff, absolutely refusing to leave when politely asked, and deliberately making our legitimate paying guests extremely uncomfortable with her aggressive, threatening behavior. Ray's explosive TikTok live stream erupted to 4,800 viewers and climbed rapidly. Comments cascaded down the screen like a digital waterfall. Security just arrived and this is bad. This racist situation is about to get violent. Somebody please help this beautiful sister. I'm calling every news station in the city right now. The imposing lobby clock ticked mercilessly forward. 2:56 p.m. Exactly 4 precious minutes remaining before Maya's world-changing board meeting. Maya finally spoke with quiet, unshakable authority that somehow cut through the surrounding chaos like a perfectly sharpened blade. Gentlemen, I simply requested the professional courtesy of speaking with your general manager regarding my confirmed penthouse suite reservation. She's absolutely lying through her teeth, Jessica snapped with venomous conviction. I've already thoroughly explained to everyone that important, legitimate guests don't just casually walk in off the street looking like, well, exactly like that. Trevor's calloused hand moved aggressively toward his police radio. Ma'am, we can absolutely do this the easy way or the extremely hard way. The choice is entirely yours to make. Marcus hesitated significantly, his professional eye studying Maya's expensive Swiss watch, her perfectly tailored designer clothing, the subtle but unmistakable confidence that practically screamed executive leadership presence. Something felt fundamentally, completely wrong about this entire situation. Wait just 1 minute here, he said quietly, his voice filled with growing concern. But the dangerous crowd dynamics were shifting rapidly against Maya's favor. Additional hotel staff members gathered like vultures sensing weakness. Assistant Manager David Kim emerged hurriedly from the executive back office, drawn by the escalating commotion and immediately, automatically assuming Jessica's carefully constructed version of events was completely accurate. What exactly is happening here? David demanded sharply, his voice cutting through the lobby with bureaucratic authority. Jessica immediately seized the perfect moment for maximum dramatic impact. David, this unhinged woman is clearly trespassing on private property. She absolutely refuses to provide any proper identification, won't leave when repeatedly asked by management, and she's been increasingly verbally abusive and threatening toward our entire professional team. The calculated accusation struck Maya like a devastating physical blow to the chest, verbally abusive and threatening. She had spoken perhaps 20 carefully measured words total during the entire encounter, all perfectly professional and respectful. But Jessica's Oscar-worthy performance was systematically convincing the growing, increasingly hostile audience of her complete guilt. Ma'am, I'm going to need you to come with us immediately, David announced with bureaucratic finality, strategically positioning his body to Maya's left side while Trevor closed in menacingly from her right, effectively trapping her between 2 aggressive men. Ray's explosive TikTok live stream viewer count climbed relentlessly toward 6,000 engaged viewers. The hashtag Meridian Hotel Racism began trending locally across all social media platforms. Comments became increasingly desperate and urgent. Somebody call the police on these racists. This is basically kidnapping on camera. Black woman being lynched in broad daylight in 2025. Maya suddenly found herself completely surrounded by a hostile circle of authority figures. Jessica stood triumphantly behind the marble counter like a conquering general. David blocked her only path to the elevator bank. Trevor's experienced hand rested threateningly on his metal handcuffs, and Marcus looked genuinely torn between his professional duty and his growing moral conscience. The polished marble floor felt increasingly cold beneath her expensive designer shoes. Footwear that cost significantly more than most people's entire monthly rent suddenly seemed completely insignificant against the overwhelming wall of institutional, systemic racism that was methodically closing around her like a suffocating trap. "I completely understand there's been some unfortunate confusion here," Maya said with remarkable calm, her voice never wavering despite the mounting pressure. "Perhaps if I could just take a moment to show you my proper documentation." "Absolutely no more talking or stalling," Trevor interrupted aggressively, his voice rising with obvious irritation. "You've already caused more than enough disruption and disturbance for one afternoon." Jessica's voice rose triumphantly, filled with righteous vindication. "Exactly right, officer. Our distinguished guests absolutely shouldn't have to witness this type of inappropriate criminal behavior in a genuine five-star luxury establishment." A well-dressed, middle-aged woman positioned near the champagne bar called out loudly, "Just remove her from the premises already. This entire situation is getting completely ridiculous and embarrassing." Multiple other guests nodded in obvious agreement, their faces showing clear annoyance and impatience. The dangerous mob mentality was rapidly crystallizing, systematically transforming a diverse group of individual strangers into a unified, hostile force directed against the one black woman who had dared to exist peacefully in their exclusive, predominantly white space. Maya's iPhone continued buzzing insistently in her jacket pocket. Board members wondering urgently where their CEO was. Legal counsel preparing frantically for the critical 3 p.m. emergency session. Financial advisors standing by with potentially market-moving information, all waiting for her arrival. 2:57 p.m. 3 minutes until her entire world transformed. The oppressive circle tightened methodically. 4 men, 1 woman, all absolutely convinced they were dealing with a dangerous criminal who needed immediate removal for everyone's collective safety and comfort. Marcus made one final desperate attempt at reason. "Maybe we should just take a step back and—" "Maybe absolutely nothing," David cut him off with sharp authority. "Ma'am, you now have exactly 30 seconds to walk out that front door voluntarily, or we're immediately calling the police department to have you formally arrested for criminal trespassing and deliberately disturbing the peace." The entire marble lobby held its collective breath in anticipation. Expensive phones captured every possible angle of the unfolding drama. Social media notifications pinged constantly across dozens of devices as the explosive live stream spread rapidly beyond Ray's original audience to Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. Maya Williams stood perfectly still in the eye of the racist storm, completely surrounded by assumptions, prejudice, and the overwhelming power of institutional racism that had somehow transformed her mere presence into a prosecutable crime. Jessica's smile was absolutely poisonous with triumph. "Your time is officially up, sweetheart." 2:58 p.m. 2 minutes until everything changed forever. 2:59 p.m. Exactly 1 minute remaining before Maya's world changed forever. Maya Williams reached into her tailored jacket pocket with deliberate, almost ceremonial calm. Her fingers found her iPhone, not to call desperately for help, not to record the systematic harassment for evidence, but to access something that would fundamentally transform the entire power dynamic in ways nobody could possibly anticipate. The expensive device emerged slowly, almost reverently, from her pocket. Maya's perfectly manicured thumb moved across the sleek screen with practiced, professional precision, navigating to an application that most people would never see, never access, never even know existed in the corporate hierarchy. Trevor stepped closer aggressively, assuming she was calling someone for assistance. "Put that phone away right now, lady." "No more games, no more stalling tactics." Jessica's voice dripped with condescending triumph. "Probably calling her welfare caseworker or her parole officer." This whole performance is getting pathetic. But Maya's screen illuminated clearly for every recording camera positioned throughout the marble lobby. Williams Hospitality Group, CEO Executive Dashboard. Classified access only. The corporate logo gleamed prominently at the top, a sophisticated emblem that matched the subtle branding throughout the hotel that nobody had bothered to notice or connect. Jessica's triumphant, racist expression began to crack around the edges, confusion creeping into her eyes like poison. Maya tapped the screen twice with her manicured finger, each touch deliberate and purposeful. Instantly, every single employee name badge throughout the entire opulent lobby began flashing urgent, synchronized red alerts. The coordinated warnings created an almost hypnotic light show across the five-star space, impossible to ignore. Digital monitors positioned behind the marble front desk immediately displayed a corporate emergency message in bold, unmistakable letters. Urgent. Executive alert. CEO on premises. All staff report immediately. Additional screens throughout the lobby activated simultaneously. Corporate emergency protocol engaged. Management level alpha response required. Trevor's calloused hand stopped halfway to his metal handcuffs, frozen in confusion. David's expensive phone remained suspended in mid-dial, his finger hovering over the emergency number. Marcus straightened unconsciously, military training and years of security experience helping him recognize the shift in authority even before his conscious mind processed it. Jessica stared at the sophisticated corporate interface she had seen only during mandatory training videos, her face systematically draining of color like someone had opened a drain valve. Her voice emerged as barely an audible whisper. That's completely impossible. Only the CEO has direct access to that executive system. The lobby atmosphere transformed instantly from hostile confrontation to shocked, electric silence. Maya's calm, unshakable voice cut through the stunned quiet like a perfectly honed blade. Jessica Martinez, employee identification number 4471. You've been employed at my hotel for exactly 14 months and 6 days. Your most recent performance evaluation specifically praised your unwavering commitment to exceptional guest service standards and inclusive hospitality practices. Ray's TikTok comments absolutely detonated. Oh my God, she's the actual boss. Plot twist of the entire century. Racist manager is about to be so unemployed. This is better than any Hollywood movie. Black excellence just won everything. Maya continued with devastating, surgical precision, her professional voice never rising above measured conversational level. David Kim, assistant manager for 8 months and 12 days exactly. Your comprehensive evaluation highlighted your passionate dedication to creating an inclusive, welcoming hospitality experience for guests of all backgrounds and economic levels. David's face went completely ashen, his mouth moving soundlessly as the catastrophic implications crashed over his consciousness like a devastating tsunami of career-ending realization. Marcus Thompson, Senior Security Officer. 2 years, 4 months of exemplary professional service. 0 guest complaints filed. 3 formal commendations for outstanding professional excellence and conflict de-escalation. Marcus nodded with immediate, respectful recognition, understanding and horror flooding his experienced features. Yes, ma'am. My most sincere apologies for this entire situation. Trevor Walsh, Junior Security Officer. 4 documented customer service violations this quarter alone, including 2 formal complaints for excessive force and 1 official reprimand for discriminatory language toward minority guests. Trevor's expression cycled rapidly through confusion, defensiveness, and finally dawning panic as the reality penetrated his limited understanding of corporate hierarchy and consequences. Maya's authoritative voice carried the quiet power of absolute executive control. This flagship property generates exactly $52 million in annual revenue, representing approximately 15% of our total regional portfolio. Customer satisfaction scores have declined 8% this quarter, specifically due to discrimination complaints filed against front desk management personnel. Ray's explosive live stream viewer count erupted past 8,000 engaged viewers as screenshots flooded across every social media platform. Comments moved faster than human eyes could track. She literally owns the entire hotel chain. Jessica is about to be so fired. Black excellence wins again. This is going viral worldwide. Other hotel guests throughout the opulent lobby ceased all conversation, frozen in collective shock and fascination. Staff members from housekeeping, concierge services, restaurant operations, and valet parking gathered at respectful distances, suddenly recognizing their ultimate corporate boss standing in the center of what had become a company-defining crisis. Additional hotel employees emerged from back offices, drawn by the flashing alerts and emergency notifications. The marble space filled with uniformed staff members, all staring in various stages of recognition, embarrassment, and professional concern. Maya's voice maintained its devastating calm. The corporate legal department has meticulously documented 12 separate discrimination settlements totaling $2.1 million over the past 18 months alone. 9 of those costly cases specifically involved formal complaints about discriminatory treatment of black guests at this particular location. Jessica's hands trembled visibly against the marble counter. The woman who had minutes earlier treated Maya like absolute garbage, like something to be discarded, now faced the terrifying reality that she had just committed professional suicide in front of thousands of digital witnesses. David attempted desperately to salvage the catastrophic situation. "Ma'am, I had absolutely no idea who you were. If I had known your position..." "If I had known what, exactly?" Maya's question hung in the perfumed air like a suspended blade. "That I was a human being deserving of basic dignity and respect? Or specifically that I was someone with the institutional power to hold you directly accountable for your discriminatory actions?" The massive lobby clock struck exactly 3 p.m. with resonant chimes that echoed through the marble space. Perfect, dramatic timing orchestrated by fate itself. Maya walked with dignified, regal grace toward the brass elevator bank, her expensive heels clicking with newfound authority against the polished floor. She paused at the ornate doors, turned back to address the stunned crowd of guests, employees, and social media audience. "David, I believe we have our previously scheduled emergency board meeting now. Conference room B, executive level, all department heads immediately." Her voice carried absolute, unquestionable command. "Don't keep me waiting." Jessica remained frozen behind the counter like a statue, her face a mask of pure horror and dawning professional comprehension. Maya's final words before the elevator doors closed were delivered with quiet, utterly devastating precision. "Oh, and Jessica? That penthouse keycard you threw on the floor like garbage? It works perfectly. I programmed it myself this morning when I arrived early to conduct surprise quality assessments of our guest services standards." The polished elevator doors closed definitively on the most expensive mistake Jessica Martinez would ever make in her entire career. Conference room B, executive floor. 3:03 p.m. Maya Williams entered the mahogany-paneled boardroom to find 12 department heads seated around the polished granite table, their faces displaying various stages of confusion, anticipation, and growing dread. General Manager Robert Martinez stood immediately when she entered, his expensive Armani suit doing nothing to hide the perspiration forming visibly at his temples. The conference room itself reflected the hotel's commitment to luxury Italian leather chairs surrounding a handcrafted table that cost more than most people's annual salary. Floor-to-ceiling windows offered panoramic city views, while original oil paintings adorned the silk-covered walls. This was where million-dollar decisions were made daily. "Good afternoon, everyone." Maya's voice carried the quiet authority of absolute corporate power as she moved deliberately to the head of the imposing table. "For those who weren't properly introduced during the discriminatory lobby incident exactly 3 minutes ago, I'm Maya Williams, founder and chief executive officer of Williams Hospitality Group." The silence was absolutely deafening. Several senior executives shifted uncomfortably in their $1,000 leather chairs, expensive pens forgotten in manicured hands. We acquired the Meridian hotel chain 8 months ago for $2.8 billion, she continued, settling into the executive chair with practiced, professional grace. This flagship location was specifically purchased because of its previously sterling reputation for luxury hospitality and supposedly inclusive service standards. Robert Martinez cleared his throat nervously, his 20-year hospitality career flashing before his eyes. Ma'am, I want to personally and professionally apologize for what happened downstairs. Had we known your position and identity had you known what exactly, Robert? Maya's interruption was surgically precise. That a black woman might actually belong in your establishment? That systematic racism has severe legal and financial consequences in the modern corporate world? That treating paying guests like suspected criminals based solely on skin color violates both federal civil rights law and basic human decency? The head of operations, Patricia Whitman, a middle-aged white woman with 30 years of hospitality management experience, leaned forward with obvious discomfort. Ms. Williams, surely you understand that our front desk staff deal with various challenging situations daily. Sometimes quick security judgments are absolutely necessary for guest safety and property protection. Maya's laugh was cold, professional, and utterly devastating. Security purposes? Patricia, let me share some concrete data with you about your so-called security purposes and their actual financial impact on this company. She activated the wall-mounted 75-inch display screen with her phone. Immediately, detailed spreadsheets, legal documents, and financial analysis filled the massive monitor with undeniable evidence. This flagship location generates exactly $52 million annually, representing 15% of our total regional portfolio, Maya began, each number hitting the silent room like hammer blows against anvil. Overall customer satisfaction scores, 89%. However, satisfaction ratings specifically among black guests have declined precipitously to 67% this quarter alone. The damning numbers hung in the perfumed air like a corporate death sentence. Corporate Legal Department Comprehensive Reports. 12 separate discrimination settlements in the past 18 months, totaling exactly $2.1 million in direct costs. 9 cases specifically involved black guests at this particular location. Average settlement cost per incident, $175,000. David Kim, the assistant manager whose career was crumbling in real time, looked physically ill. Beads of sweat formed on his forehead despite the climate-controlled environment. Ma'am, I had absolutely no knowledge of those specific statistics or legal precedents. Your professional ignorance doesn't eliminate your management responsibility, David. Maya cut him off with devastating precision. Federal compliance regulations require all hospitality management personnel to maintain awareness of discrimination patterns within their facilities. The Civil Rights Act of 1964, specifically Title II, prohibits discrimination in places of public accommodation. Each violation carries potential federal fines up to $75,000 per individual occurrence. The corporate counsel, James Wright, a Harvard Law graduate with 15 years of hospitality legal experience, spoke with careful precision. Ms. Williams, while today's incident was clearly inappropriate and unprofessional, perhaps we could address these systemic issues through additional comprehensive sensitivity training programs. Training programs. Maya's voice remained perfectly calm, but everyone in the room felt the atmospheric temperature drop significantly. James, let me explain our actual legal exposure in terms you'll understand as corporate counsel. The Department of Justice has been actively monitoring hospitality industry discrimination patterns since 2019 under expanded civil rights enforcement initiatives. Hotels with multiple documented complaints face federal investigation, potential franchise license revocation, and unlimited liability damages. She clicked deliberately to the next screen. Complex insurance documents appeared, filled with legal terminology and financial projections. Our liability insurance premiums have increased 18% specifically due to discrimination claims at this location. Lloyd's of London specifically cited established pattern of racial bias incidents in their comprehensive risk assessment analysis. Another major settlement automatically triggers a 25% premium increase across our entire portfolio. The chief financial officer, Margaret Lane, studied the devastating numbers with obvious professional concern. Her calculator sat forgotten as she processed the financial implications. Those insurance increases would significantly impact our quarterly profit margins and shareholder dividend projections. Exactly correct, Margaret. Systematic racism isn't just morally bankrupt and legally dangerous. It's financially devastating to corporate bottom lines, Maya replied with cold precision. Properties in our portfolio that have implemented comprehensive anti-discrimination protocols demonstrate 28% higher customer satisfaction ratings, 31% better employee retention rates, and 19% increased annual revenue generation. She stood gracefully, commanding absolute attention from every person in the room. What happened in the lobby downstairs wasn't an isolated incident of individual bias. It represents systematic institutional racism embedded deep within this location's operational culture. A black CEO of the parent company that owns this entire hotel was immediately presumed to be a criminal, a fraud, someone who fundamentally didn't belong in her own establishment. Robert attempted desperate damage control. Ms. Williams, I want to assure you that this isolated incident doesn't represent our stated corporate values or management philosophy - Your corporate values? Maya's voice remained level but carried absolutely devastating authority. Robert, institutional values aren't determined by what organizations claim in glossy corporate brochures or marketing materials. True values are demonstrated by what employees do when they believe nobody with power is watching or documenting their behavior. She returned to the massive screen displaying a comprehensive, detailed implementation plan that had obviously been prepared well in advance. Here's exactly what's happening at this location, effective immediately. Phase 1 begins within the next 24 hours, no exceptions. The room held its collective breath as careers hung in the balance. Jessica Martinez, terminated immediately for egregious racial discrimination and violation of corporate hospitality standards. 0 severance package. Industry-wide notification of termination prevents future employment in the hospitality sector. Trevor Walsh, terminated for aggressive escalation of racial incident and documented previous customer service violations. David Kim, 60-day unpaid suspension, mandatory anti-racism certification required before possible reinstatement. David's face completely crumbled as the financial reality hit him. 2 months without pay would devastate his family's mortgage payments and children's college savings. All front desk and security personnel, mandatory emergency racial bias workshop within 48 hours. Attendance absolutely required. Failure to complete training results in immediate termination without severance. Public apology issued on all hotel social media platforms specifically acknowledging today's discriminatory incident and corporate commitment to change. She clicked to Phase 2 with dramatic precision. Implementation within 30 days. Installation of comprehensive dignity and equality protocol. All guest interactions recorded and independently audited monthly for discriminatory language or behavior patterns. Implementation of mandatory racial equity scorecard for all customer-facing employees with quarterly performance reviews. Strategic partnership with the local NAACP chapter and Black Chamber of Commerce for monthly discrimination audits and community oversight. Margaret calculated quickly on her tablet. The required technology infrastructure and independent audit costs alone would exceed $200,000 in initial investment. Consider it a necessary investment in basic human decency and legal compliance, Margaret. Additionally, $150,000 donation to local civil rights and black business development organizations. Completely tax-deductible and excellent public relations. Phase 3 appeared on the screen with comprehensive detail. 90-day comprehensive structural reform. Chief Diversity Officer hired immediately. Minimum annual salary, $120,000, must be an experienced person of color with hospitality industry background. Complete overhaul of hiring and promotion practices prioritizing qualified diverse candidates, especially Black professionals. Guest feedback application developed with direct CEO reporting line for discrimination incidents and real-time corporate response. The head of Human Resources, Sandra Phillips, raised her hand tentatively. Ms. Williams, preferential hiring practices based specifically on race could potentially create legal complications under employment discrimination statutes. Sandra, you're fundamentally confusing equality with preferential treatment, Maya replied with sharp precision. When an organization has been systematically excluding qualified candidates based solely on skin color for decades, correcting that discriminatory imbalance isn't reverse discrimination, it's delayed justice and legal compliance. She displayed the final consequence framework with devastating clarity. Non-compliance penalties, hotel general manager immediate termination for cause, corporate franchise license revocation, worth $35 million in annual revenue generation, public disclosure of all documented discrimination incidents to national media outlets and civil rights organizations, Federal Civil Rights Division investigation referral with unlimited liability exposure. The boardroom remained silent except for the quiet hum of air conditioning and the distant sounds of city traffic far below. Questions or concerns about implementation? Maya asked with deceptive calm. Robert found his voice first, though it cracked slightly. Ms. Williams, the implementation timeline seems somewhat aggressive for an organization this size. Robert, systematic racism has operated aggressively and unchecked in this hotel for months, possibly years. Justice and legal compliance don't wait for organizational convenience or gradual comfort. James, the corporate lawyer, made one final desperate attempt. Ms. Williams, while I personally support these diversity initiatives, the legal precedent for such comprehensive organizational changes based on a single documented incident, a single incident. Maya's professional composure finally cracked slightly, revealing the human pain beneath executive authority. James, that woman called me ghetto trash, welfare queen, suggested I literally smelled like fraud, and physically threw my corporate identification on the floor like contaminated garbage while thousands of people watched and recorded online. Your dismissed single incident is currently trending nationally on TikTok with over 50,000 views and climbing exponentially. She regained her executive calm immediately, the moment of vulnerability vanishing. This emergency meeting is officially concluded. Implementation begins immediately across all departments. Any management personnel who fails to execute these directives completely will be replaced within 24 hours. Maya walked toward the mahogany door with regal dignity, then paused for maximum impact. One final point for absolute clarity. Success will be measured exclusively by demonstrable results, not stated intentions or corporate promises. I'll be conducting monthly surprise inspections personally. The next Black guest who experiences discrimination at this location will result in immediate termination for all management personnel present during the incident. The boardroom remained absolutely silent as Maya Williams, CEO, victim of institutional racism, and architect of systematic corporate change, left to transform a hospitality industry that had never encountered anything like her vision, power, and unwavering commitment to justice before. 4:15 p.m. Conference Room B had emptied, leaving only the echoes of corporate transformation. Maya Williams stood alone at the floor-to-ceiling windows, watching the city sprawl below as her phone buzzed with updates from the lobby. Security footage showed Jessica Martinez being escorted through the marble halls, her personal belongings hastily stuffed into a cardboard box that seemed to mock her former authority. The woman who had wielded racist power just hours earlier now walked the same route as a terminated employee, her heels clicking a different rhythm, one of defeat and consequence. Maya's assistant, Patricia Johnson, appeared in the doorway with a tablet full of real-time updates. Ma'am, the termination paperwork is complete. Jessica Martinez, 0 severance package, Terminated for cause, industry blacklist notification sent to all major hospitality chains within a 50-mile radius. And Trevor Walsh? Badge and radio confiscated by Marcus Thompson, banned permanently from all 47 Williams Hospitality Group properties. Security license review formally requested with the state licensing board. His employment prospects in security are effectively finished. Maya nodded, feeling no satisfaction in the destruction of careers, only the grim necessity of consequences meeting actions. David Kim's suspension begins immediately. Payroll has been notified. 60 days without pay, health insurance maintained during suspension period as per company policy. He'll need to complete 80 hours of intensive anti-racism training before reinstatement consideration. Through the window, Maya could see David in the parking structure, sitting in his Honda Accord with his head in his hands. A man confronting the financial reality of prejudiced mortgage payments, children's expenses, the crushing weight of accountability. Marcus Thompson? Patricia smiled for the first time that afternoon. Promoted to head of security effective immediately, 15% salary increase to $68,000 annually. He's requested permission to personally lead the anti-bias training for all security staff. Approved. Marcus recognized something was wrong from the beginning. That kind of moral courage deserves recognition. Maya's phone displayed the TikTok analytics. Ray's original live stream had reached 127,000 views. Screenshots and clips spread across Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, generating over 2.3 million total impressions. Meridian Hotel Racism was trending in 12 major cities. But more importantly, hashtag Meridian Transformation was beginning to trend alongside it. Implementation update, Patricia. Phase 1 is already underway. All front desk and security personnel have been notified of mandatory training beginning tomorrow at 8 a.m. The public apology video is being recorded by Robert Martinez in 30 minutes. Legal has approved the language direct acknowledgement of the discriminatory incident without admitting legal liability. Maya reviewed the apology script on Patricia's tablet. It was comprehensive. Acknowledgement of harm, commitment to change, specific action steps. No corporate doublespeak or evasive language. Media response? Channel 7 News requested an interview. The Washington Post business section is preparing an article about corporate responses to discrimination. Harvard Business Review wants to discuss the case study potential. Maya considered carefully. No interviews yet. Let the actions speak first. Results matter more than explanations. Her phone buzzed with a text from Marcus Thompson. Ma'am, just wanted you to know the other security officers are asking for additional anti-racism training beyond what's required. They want to do better. Change was beginning at the individual level, person by person, conscience by conscience. Patricia continued reading from her tablet. The Dignity and Equality Protocol technology installation begins Monday. The vendor specializes in hospitality bias detection. Their software can identify discriminatory language patterns in real-time guest interactions. Cost: $185,000 for installation and first-year monitoring. Annual maintenance is $42,000. But Margaret ran the numbers. If we prevent just one discrimination lawsuit, the system pays for itself. Maya nodded. Prevention is always cheaper than litigation. The NAACP partnership is confirmed. Regional Director Reverend Dr. Patricia Johnson will conduct monthly audits beginning next week. The Black Chamber of Commerce is providing a list of preferred minority vendors for hotel services, catering, supplies, professional services. Real change required shifting economic power, not just policies. Chief Diversity Officer recruitment? We have 3 qualified candidates, all people of color with hospitality industry experience. Interviews scheduled for this week. The position posting has generated unprecedented interest. Apparently, word is spreading about our commitment to meaningful change. Maya's phone displayed an email from the corporate insurance provider. Following review of implemented discrimination prevention measures at Meridian Hotel flagship location, Lloyd's of London is reducing liability premiums by 12%, effective immediately. Estimated annual savings, $340,000. Doing right was profitable. The business case for human decency was undeniable. Guest feedback app development? The tech team is working overtime. Beta version ready for testing by Friday. Direct reporting line to your office established. Any discrimination complaint triggers automatic corporate investigation within 24 hours. Maya walked to the conference table, studying the implementation timeline spread across multiple documents. Systematic racism had taken decades to entrench itself in hospitality culture. Dismantling it required surgical precision and unwavering commitment. Community impact measurement? Patricia pulled up social media analytics. The initial reaction was explosive anger at the discrimination. But now we're seeing positive engagement with our response. # Black excellence is trending alongside stories of corporate accountability. Some comments are calling this a corporate justice model for other industries. Maya's phone buzzed with a message from Ray, the TikTok creator who had live-streamed the original incident. Thank you for showing how Black excellence responds to racism with power, not just anger. You're changing the game for all of us. The marble lobby 5 floors below was returning to normal operations, but nothing would ever be the same. New policies were already being printed and distributed. Staff members were reading anti-discrimination guidelines during shift changes. The corporate culture was transforming from the ground up. Revenue impact analysis? Surprising results, Patricia reported. Despite the negative publicity, hotel bookings have actually increased 18% since this afternoon. Apparently, our response to discrimination is attracting guests who want to support businesses that take civil rights seriously. Maya wasn't surprised. Consumers increasingly demanded corporate social responsibility. Taking a principled stand against racism wasn't just morally correct, it was good business. Employee satisfaction surveys? Preliminary data shows remarkable improvement. Staff members of color report feeling safer and more respected, knowing that discrimination has real consequences. Overall, employee morale has increased 34% since the terminations were announced. Creating psychologically safe workplaces improved productivity, reduced turnover, and attracted top talent from diverse backgrounds. Maya's reflection was interrupted by a soft knock. Marcus Thompson appeared in the doorway, still wearing his security uniform, but now with the bearing of leadership. "Ma'am, I wanted to personally thank you for this opportunity. More importantly, I want to apologize for not speaking up sooner. I've seen discriminatory behavior before and didn't challenge it directly. That changes now." Marcus, leadership isn't about perfection, it's about growth. You recognized something was wrong today when others didn't. That's what we're building on. He nodded gratefully. The entire security team wants to attend additional bias training beyond what's required. We want to be part of the solution. After Marcus left, Maya turned back to the windows. The city lights were beginning to twinkle as afternoon faded to evening. Somewhere in those lights were other Black women, other people of color, facing discrimination in hotels, restaurants, retail stores, corporate offices. Today's incident was one battle in a longer war for dignity and equality. Her phone displayed a message from the Williams Hospitality Group Board of Directors. "Maya, the board unanimously supports your response to today's incident. We're implementing similar protocols across all 47 properties immediately. This is the leadership our industry needs." Systematic change was spreading beyond one hotel, one incident, one afternoon of corporate justice. Patricia gathered her materials. "Ma'am, is there anything else you need tonight?" Maya smiled, feeling the weight of the day but also its potential. "Just confirmation that the scholarship fund is established. $200,000 annually for Black hospitality management students. Partner with Howard University, Spelman College, and Hampton University. Already done. The first scholarships will be awarded this fall." As Patricia left, Maya remained at the window, watching her reflection merge with the city lights. Today, a black woman had been humiliated, dehumanized, and dismissed in a luxury hotel lobby. Tonight, that same woman was transforming an entire industry. The TikTok video would be seen by millions. The corporate response would be studied in business schools. The systematic changes would prevent countless future incidents of discrimination. But most importantly, somewhere a young black girl would see this story and understand that her excellence, her dignity, and her right to exist in any space were not negotiable. Maya Williams had not just survived racism today, she had transformed it into justice. 6 months later, Maya Williams stood in the same marble lobby where her identity had been thrown on the floor. The space looked identical, but everything fundamental had changed. Ray's TikTok video had reached 3.7 million views, inspiring hundreds of educational videos about responding to discrimination with strategic power rather than reactive anger. Maya reviewed the quarterly results. 0 discrimination complaints, customer satisfaction at 97%, black guest satisfaction improved from 67% to 97%, the highest in company history. The Harvard Business School case study is approved, Patricia reported. They're calling it the Williams Protocol Systematic Transformation through Accountability rather than Performative Gestures. Reverend Dr. Patricia Johnson from the NAACP completed her monthly audit. Maya, this place feels completely different. 6 months ago, I would have advised black families to avoid this hotel. Now I recommend it specifically. 63 major hotel chains had adopted similar anti-discrimination measures. One afternoon of racism had catalyzed industry-wide change. Marcus Thompson, now head of security, approached with his monthly report. No discrimination complaints in 6 months. Our training program is being requested by hotels across the region. Maya walked to where Jessica Martinez had thrown her ID card. A small bronze plaque marked the spot. Dignity restored here, May 19, 2025, when excellence confronted prejudice. Her phone showed a message from David Kim. Ms. Williams, completing my anti-racism certification was the most important education I've ever received. Thank you for the growth opportunity. The hotel's revenue had increased 31% since the incident. Doing right was profitable. A young black woman approached the front desk. The new manager, Keisha Washington, greeted her with genuine warmth. No suspicion, no judgment, just professional respect as it should be. Maya's phone displayed an email from Cornell Hotel School requesting establishment of the Maya Williams Fellowship for Diversity and Hospitality Management. 20 black students would receive full scholarships this fall. As evening approached, Maya used the penthouse keycard that had been thrown on the floor, now framed in her office, as a reminder of how quickly power shifts when truth confronts prejudice. From the penthouse windows, she viewed the city lights. Somewhere in those lights were other black women facing discrimination, other moments waiting for strategic responses. Maya's story had become a blueprint. Document everything, respond with data, create systematic change, transform institutions rather than punish individuals. Her phone displayed Ray's final message. Maya, you taught me that we don't have to accept discrimination quietly. We can demand better and create change. Thank you for showing us how black excellence transforms systems. Maya smiled, understanding today's victory belonged to everyone who had ever been dismissed because of race. The lobby continued evening operations with dignity, respect, and accountability for all. Maya Williams hadn't just survived racism, she had transformed it into systematic justice protecting countless future guests. Corporate America learned a powerful lesson. Black excellence doesn't beg for respect. It demands accountability and creates necessary change. Call to action. Have you witnessed discrimination like this? Share your experiences below. Every story creates accountability and change. If Maya's strategic response inspired you, share this with someone who needs to see how dignified resistance creates lasting institutional change. Subscribe to our Black Stories for more accounts of black leaders transforming racist systems through intelligence and strategic commitment to justice. When you witness racism, document safely, support victims, report officially, share responsibly, follow up for accountability. Maya proved sustainable transformation comes from building anti-racist systems that make discrimination unprofitable and unthinkable. Black excellence doesn't need to prove itself, but when we demonstrate our power, we transform industries and create spaces where future generations exist without fighting for basic dignity. Share this story. Subscribe. Let's build the change we want to see.